Alrighty. Let me wait for this to kind of start here for our live show for the Jamboree recap. There it is. I'm going to get this shared over to Twitter as well. That way the good people over there know that what we're doing. Copy the link. Paste. There we go. Alrighty. How's everybody doing today on this beautiful Saturday? Just finished watching the Chiefs game. Yesterday I was able to go to a Jamboree and I was able to watch, I think, 5 more on a video of some sort, whether a YouTube or Huddle. Thank you to all the coaches and people who directed me to those things. I really do appreciate it. That way I can do the best I can to see as many things as possible. So let me get everything pulled up here on my phone. That way I can see the live chat here as well, a little bit closer to me here on my computer. So how's everybody doing today? If you have any comments that you want to ask during the show, feel free. I'm going to try to check this as much as possible so we can get some good interactions here with you guys. We'll start here. The show we did yesterday, the broadcast there was at Bramer. Sorry if the internet connection wasn't great. It's kind of school Wi-Fi from a distance there. We did the best we could. Looks like we got okay video there in the long run there. I tried to save it. Unfortunately, my iPad was low on storage and it deleted the video. So unfortunately, I won't be able to get that full thing up on YouTube for you guys to see the whole game there. But it is what it is. So hopefully next week's game, I'll make sure we get that downloaded there. I'm going to free some space up on my iPad just to make sure that we get that full game saved and then we'll be able to upload it on YouTube later for the Archie Lockwood game next Friday. But let's go. Bramer Jamboree. Had a lot of fun there watching those guys kind of play there. We'll start with a team that definitely won the Jamboree and played very well, Bramer. So we'll just kind of go through the sections they had there. The way they had their Jamboree set up was all 4 teams on the field at the same time, starting at the opponent's 25 and going the other way. So that's what we kind of have there for that Jamboree. You had 12 plays on offense, 12 plays on defense, and then they had switch sessions. There were 3 sessions. So first session was Bramer versus Oric, and then Norbert Hardin Central versus Northland, and then NHC versus Oric, Bramer versus Northland, and then Northland versus Oric, and Bramer versus Norbert Hardin Central. So those are the 3 sessions. Bramer, they put up 96 points, or I believe that is 16 touchdowns up in 36 plays. Very impressed with them so far. They're not the biggest up front. They do have a little bit of size based on what I can tell. I'm not sure if I have their roster here. One guy that was definitely a good size, Chase Kincaid, was good sized. Ben Gordon had good size as well. Ben Jordan. So they had a couple guys with that. We'll get to the media poll here in a little bit, John. We'll kind of preview that. And I'll talk about Anthony a little bit here as well. Anthony's not going to be here today because he went to Lockwood last night. He was staying with some family. He is traveling back at this time, kind of do after the Chiefs game was over. So he wasn't able to jump on today. We're going to have plenty of content for you guys this week, though. He might do a live show tomorrow. I know we have something scheduled right now with Chris Rouse for KQ2 for Monday to set a couple things out during the week kind of deal for you guys as well. And then Anthony and I will do a week 1 preview show as well. So there'll be plenty of stuff to talk about there for you guys with Anthony and me on the show together. Today, just me in the hats hanging out with you guys. But Bramer, guys that really impressed me, of course, number 1, Jordan Haley at quarterback. The kid's a sophomore. The kid balled out. The kid looked really good. It's not just throwing the ball. It's his ability to, 1, master the offense as a young player. Number 2, how he avoids the pass rush when it does come to him and not panic was very impressive for me. He's able to move fluently in and out of the pocket. He plays alive with his legs without looking to run first. He's looking to scramble to hit guys down the field. And a guy that he connected with really well was Alec Kelly, actually, a junior receiver for him, number 12. He played a fantastic football game, Jamboree there for him. Landon Baker, their receiver, he played really well as well. I was impressed with his ability to catch the ball downfield. He was really good on defense as well. Ethan Weber plays running back. They also use him out of the slot sometimes. He had one, I think he was the one that had a nice catch. It was either him or Baker. I can't remember off the top of my head. Haley rolled out to his left and threw it back across the field on the right sideline. A beautiful pass at the sideline. Can't remember if it was Weber or Baker with that catch, but it was really nice to see there. They were without their number 1 receiver from last year with Griffin Houston. He was out. He might be back week 1, should be back by week 2 there for him. So he was out, but they still put up good offensive numbers there with it. And then the next one here. Oh, also I want to mention Carter Shue. He lines up at tailback, fullback, out at receiver, in the slot. A little bit of everywhere in their offense there, and he's going to make some nice plays. He made some nice plays, high pointing the ball down the field. Haley was able to find him, and Carter Shue's down there somewhere kind of deal. So I was very impressed, not just with Haley, but his weapons on the outside and how multitude they were with that. It's not just, we know we have one, maybe two receivers. They got 4, 5, maybe 6 receivers they can count on. There's another kid, he's a sophomore. His first name is Kagan. Is it Sisinstich? I don't know if I'm getting his name right, so I don't want to say it over and over. I'm getting it wrong there for him. He played as well. Number 1 there for him. I think he's also their backup quarterback. Nice little athlete for him. I was impressed with what he kind of did as well. Want to give Kagan a shout out as well here. Then on defense, Ben Gordon, Baker, Weber, all kind of played really well there. So I was impressed with Bramer and how they kind of showed out there in their section of the Jamboree. And I'm going to have them in my top 10 to start the year. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to. I'm still tallying up the media poll. I think they're going to be on the outside looking in for the top 10, but they're going to be a team. Their first 5 weeks, I was just looking at it. They got Keatsville week 1, and then I believe it's the next 4 teams are all conference opponents as well. Lutheran, Sweet Springs, Oric, Norbert, and Hardin Central. If they get through that stretch at 4-1 or 5-0 through that stretch kind of deal to start the year, they're going to be well interested in the top 10 and maybe pushing a little higher in the poll as well. So really excited to see what Bramer kind of looks like here later in the season. Norbert, Hardin Central, they had 2 kids running quarterback there, Anakin Grayson and then Zach Deitch, I believe. Deitch, I think is what it is, there for them. Both looked pretty similar based on what I could kind of tell. Norbert, Hardin Central did run probably about 8 plays varsity, 4 plays with their JV, or around that number there. So there were a couple of late touchdowns scored on them. That was against their JV when the other team still had their varsity in. So I'm keeping that in effect here with them. Their varsity did look very good. I liked Kobe Gibson, their tight end now. He was their quarterback last year. Big frame out there. I did like him catching passes out there. Running back for him, Kelton Gordon, he looked good. He looked like a powerful runner there for the senior for him. I was impressed with him. They have a good front line up there. The 2 Doyle kids, Meyer as well. I mean, they're going to have some good dudes up front. Kobe Gibson had a nice play, I believe, on Jordan Haley, where Haley tried to juke and come back. And Gibson, he's like 6'3", 6'4", at least there, and he has some long arms. He was able to poke his arm out there, knock the ball out, force a fumble, and recover it. So he made a couple of really nice plays there for the Aggies. So I was impressed with him. And I think the Aggies, they have a good chance to go above 500 this year. If things kind of go right for them, they could be a team that could really impress some people as the year goes on. I think they're going to be a pretty solid football team for everybody. Northland Christian, you know the big guys, Seth Martin at quarterback, Dante Birch at receiver. But they had 10 guys suited out, and I think half of them, maybe if not a little bit more than half, it was their first ever football experience versus other teams kind of deal with that in an actual real football setting. It showed that at times they had some growing pains. There were some things that looked pretty positive there, some negatives, so they had a lot to work on. But I wasn't completely discouraged by seeing them there in live there. Definitely some things to work on, but we'll see what happens. They're going to have a few guys who are coming back next week. They had a couple kids who were sick and stuff like that, so they should be okay. They got to stay healthy. That's the biggest thing. I think they have 14 kids out total right now, so they have to stay healthy to make it through the whole year. And their first 4 weeks are pretty decent on the schedule with that. Let's see here. So that's those 2 teams, and I should be able to find the Oric roster. Here it is. Of course, Oric, defensively, the first thing that popped out to me was Jackson Miller, middle linebacker. If you put Jackson Miller on the middle of Bramer's defense, Bramer would be a top 6-7 team in the state right now, just because they would have that thumper in the middle on defense. The one thing with Bramer I'm a little bit worried about still is them stopping people, but they're going to put up 50, 60 points a game pretty regularly. I'm pretty confident with that, with the way their offense looked. Are they going to be able to stop people? And Jackson Miller, he's a thumper there for Oric. He had multiple plays there on Friday night where he was just flying through there, and he is built really well there. So he's impressive there. He had a couple nice runs there out of their tailback, fullback position there for Coach Thacker and Oric as well. So I was impressed with him. Xander Stevenson, their quarterback, had a couple of nice plays as well. Very shifty runner. The Nay kid, he plays fullback and linebacker. He's another thumper there. He's going to lead block a lot of time. He'll get a few carries as well. So Oric, overall, they were okay. They didn't really wow me at all, but they also had a lot of JV stuff. They played their JV in full against Northland Christian and put the varsity out there for that one. So they're overall, they were pretty even there with Norbert and Hardin Central. Then the team, I think, is going to be right about that 500 or better kind of mark this year. Very interested to see what they do versus St. Paul in week 1. So St. Paul is going to be a good gauge point for both Oric and Bramer first part of the year. So we'll see how that kind of goes there with that. Let me see here. I want to look at St. Paul's schedule now because they have Oric, Bramer, Hughesville. So their first 3 weeks for St. Paul Lutheran are going to be pretty interesting there. I'll go to Hughesville next because that's going to be wrapping up the Bramer Jamboree. Thank you everybody who watched last night. But Hughesville, they were over in Keatsville with Southwest Livingston and Keatsville there. I was able to watch a portion of that where I didn't get to see Hughesville versus Keatsville in the head-to-head there, but I got to see both teams versus Southwest with the huddle film. Thank you, Coach Foster, for sharing that with me so I could watch that a little bit. In Hughesville, they got good size. I saw that at the Archie team camp. They have a lot of good size. Neaters looked decent there at quarterback, and their defense looked pretty solid there with them. Keatsville, for them, they actually impressed me a little bit more than what I've seen in the past with them. They looked a little more comfortable with the football kind of deal. They had a little more spread now. They had a couple of big pass plays against Southwest Livingston. They won against Hughesville as well. So they might be able to hit a few more plays this year than they have with the pass kind of deal. They have some good athletes on the outside. They just looked a little more comfortable, a little bit bigger than I've seen in the past them. Just kind of across the board, they didn't have as many just really small guys in important positions. So we'll see with Keatsville still looking to get their first ever 8-man win. I hope they get it this year. It'd be great for the kids to kind of build off something going forward. We saw it a couple of years ago. Bramer, they really struggled their first 4, 5, 6 years, an 8-man kind of deal. They got a win in like week 10 situation. Them and Keatsville both opted out of the playoffs. Bramer got to play them in a 1-on-1. Bramer ended up winning that game, and you've seen Bramer been able to just get confidence with winning kind of deal. That's just something with some of these programs is if you just get that first win, it really helps build from there, and your kids get more confident, and then more kids want to come out because it's more fun kind of deal. So we'll see how that kind of goes there with them. Southwest Livingston, the 2 Singer boys, Tucker at running back, he is a very big kid there playing tailback for him. He was definitely lowering the shoulder and getting extra yardage there with him. Will Hughes had a couple of nice runs there in scrambles versus Hughesville, and I think also versus Keatsville on there. Their Keatsville session was a little bit choppy there on offense. I think they settled in after that. They still have a pretty young roster there in Southwest Livingston. So, and then Tyler Singer up front made a couple of nice plays along with Glenn Holt up front. So Livingston still has the size up front. They just have to get everything put together. Based on what I saw, it is a Jamboree. It's hard to tell completely there with them, but I think Hughesville was probably the best team there at that Jamboree. Okay, we're going to go next let's go to East Atchison. East Atchison, they hosted LeBlanc, Nottoway Valley, and Rockport. And one thing that was really interesting in that Jamboree, and so both the last one and this one, they both did the full field, which makes sense for the 3-team Jamboree. East Atchison, they had 4 teams there. They still did the start of the 15-yard line. You get 12 plays, and then we'll switch kind of deal with that. So took a little bit longer to watch that one because of that going on. It is a more longer process. I'm kind of interested in what coaches think of the 2 different formats with it, whether just going the whole length of the field, getting 12 plays, versus both get a half a field kind of deal and go from there and just kind of work on some red zone stuff. 2 different kind of philosophies with it. I kind of enjoy the other way. A little more scoring and a little more, I don't know, the action just kind of moves faster. You're not sitting around waiting while 24 plays are kind of happening or 12 plays are happening kind of deal with that. But let's see here. So it started out with LeBlanc versus EA on defense, and Gardner scored 65-yard touchdown, first play of the game, just took off. After that, LeBlanc got the 2-point conversion. After that, EA's defense really settled in and looked pretty salty there. I think there's a Litherbury kid who played really well. The Graves kid and Spinato are all really good players. They're defensively when they were flying around there. I was impressed with the way EA settled in on defense at that first play and kind of do some good things. Gardner did have a long touchdown pass to Carell that got called back due to a holding call that couldn't see the whole thing on there, but they get called back due to a holding call. So LeBlanc did some nice things offensively. They kind of got in a little bit of a funk there. EA's defense definitely caused a couple of those things though. So shout out to East Atchison. They looked much better than I was expecting going into this game because of how much they lost last year. Those kids played really well there on Friday, so I was really impressed with East Atchison so far there. Rockport versus Nottoway Valley defense. So Rockport's offense is going to be 3 yards and a cloud of dust. It wasn't overly explosive based on what I'd seen there in the Jamboree, but they're going to be able to move the ball pretty regularly versus teams on there. So I was really impressed with what Rockport does that. they had moved the ball, but by the time they got down to the red zone, their varsity, their plays were done kind of deal. So they put their JV in for the last like 4 or 5 plays, however many it was there. So the JV scored there for Rockport versus Noe Valley's JV. So not much taking that one. Just Rockport was moving the ball before their starters got pulled to get the JV some action. With that, when it was EA offense versus LeBlanc defense, couple things. Spinato looked really good running the football. He's definitely bulked up a little bit. You can tell he still has that good speed. I mean, he was a track. I think he was either going to or going to be in the consideration for the 100 and the 200 in track to make the state. It definitely shows he has that speed. Super quick, had a long run that Landon Gardner actually was able to track him down a little bit and saved a touchdown after like a 20, 30-yard gain. So Blake Simmons was playing at quarterback there for East Ashton, replacing Josh Smith. And I was really impressed with Mr. Simmons. They ran a lot of option plays there versus LeBlanc to kind of get him some looks there, have make some decisions on there. I think he did a good job there. I think it's Simmons at quarterback, Graves at fullback, and then Spinato at tailback. And they looked pretty good doing that kind of deal. I was really impressed with his ability to read the ends kind of deal for the option and still make a place with his feet there. He's got pretty good quickness there for him. He also had a nice touch pass to Spinato for a touchdown with a little bit of a Spinato kind of leaked out of the backfield on a little wheel route up the seam kind of deal. And Simmons had a really nice floating pass down the middle of the field for a touchdown there. That looked really nice there for East Atchison. For Noe Valley, Michael Cook is there at quarterback there for the Thunder. For Rockport, I think it's Jared Hunter and Micah Makings. I didn't have rosters for them. I was listening to the PA through the YouTube channel there for EA Athletics. Thank you, East Atchison, for doing that so I could watch your Jamboree. But Hunter, he's a big D tackle up front. He looked really good, and Micah Makings was making plays there for the defensive end. Both of them kind of all day with that, so I wanted to get the most shout-outs on that one. Cook did connect with Blake Bohannon on a nice deep pass. It got deflected, and Bohannon did concentration and bring the catch in for like a 30-yard gain. And then the JV offense from Noe Valley ended up scoring against the JV defense for Rockport after that drive kind of kept going. LeBlanc offense versus Rockport defense. I think it was Dylan Lair did pick off Gardner. Gardner under pressure kind of forced a pass a little bit there. One thing to kind of look there. LeBlanc was moving the ball before the interception, and a little bit after that, then the JVs kind of came in for that one. Same thing with Rockport versus LeBlanc's defense. Still 3 yards in a cloud of dust. They were moving the ball in increments on there, but it wasn't anything that was overly explosive or flashy there for Rockport. EA versus Noe Valley, O versus D. Spinato had a long touchdown run, untouched. Then again, another one where he was going down the sideline, stayed in balance, good footwork on the sideline. There was a great block. I'm not sure who the offensive end on the left side was, but he had a really nice block to kind of spring Spinato for a touchdown there. Didn't get a number or anything like that. I just wanted to give him a shout out. He probably knows who he is at this point. And then Simmons to Graves on a long touchdown pass, another great throw by Simmons. He really impressed me and kind of, I think they're going to be a little better, more explosive offensively this year. There was times that last year they would be a little more like what Rockport's going to be this year with ground and pound. If Merriweather doesn't break anything deep, I'm not sure what they're going to do there. He's gone, but I think Spinato and Simmons and Graves all have a little more big play ability this year. And I'm really looking forward to EA. They should be, I think, pretty good this year, actually. I was maybe a little too far down on them in the offseason to where I should have been there with East Atchison. Let's see here. Noe Valley offense versus LeBlanc defense. Noe Valley struggled to run the ball most of that session and most of the day kind of deal consistently. And as soon as I wrote that, the next play, Cook had a long touchdown run. So that's as much as I know there for that. But they did struggle, for the most part, to move the ball on the ground. Did have a couple nice plays through the air. Rockport offense versus EA defense. Super impressed with EA's defense in this session. They were flying around, making plays. Great open field tackles on the Heron and Makings there for him. And the Burke kid at quarterback. I think Lair kind of got a little snaps at quarterback there, too, for Rockport. I was very impressed with East Atchison, the way they were flying on the football, making some good plays. Rockport eventually started to move the ball a little bit, but then again, varsity got pulled out there. But it was a good session, kind of a back and forth. That's going to be a really fun game in Week 5 there between Rockport and East Atchison. LeBlanc versus Noe Valley defense. Gardner had a really couple nice passes in this session, including a long touchdown to Correll. With that, and also ran in a short touchdown for them as well. And then EA offense versus Rockport defense. It was a great start for the Rockport defense. They were really kind of stifling EA, and then Graves ripped off a long touchdown run there for them for about 30 yards out or so. So 2 really good sessions there. I would probably rank these teams, probably LeBlanc, and then EA Rockport, and then Noe Valley kind of lagging behind there just a little bit there. But I think LeBlanc definitely, I think they were the best team there kind of deal. But I think EA and Rockport are all both really solid teams too that either are going to be in the top 10 or be in the discussion for most of the year with that. So that's the East Atchison Jamboree. I'll go next to North Andrew. It was North Andrew, DeKalb, Pattonsburg, Platte Valley. Pretty obvious. I think two tiers in this one. You have North Andrew and Platte Valley on one side. Both teams are going to be top 5 to start the year. And then DeKalb and Pattonsburg on the other side of that. With that, and then both these teams, it was the start of 15, go whole length of the field with 2 teams weight kind of deal on this one. So there's less scoring in this one. Pattonsburg, I don't know if you saw it the other day, the roster was kind of going out there. They have 2 quarterbacks. I think it was 12 offensive linemen and 13 wide receivers, and no running backs or fullbacks. So it's kind of interesting. They're going to be full, spread it out. We're going to pass the ball kind of deal. They had a couple of nice moments with that. The Langfit kid's still a really good athlete. He had one play versus North Andrew that really stuck out to me. He caught a little jet sweep shuttle pass on the start of the 20 North Andrew, not the 15. Thank you, Mr. Benson, there from grc.com. I think he has his preview out for that, the recap of that Jamboree as well. If you want to read his thoughts on grc.com, he should have that out as well. So if you want to check out his thoughts there, please do, because he does a great job with that. But Langfit, he was going to the left, caught the shuttle pass kind of deal, and then he was going on the left side. He broke off a tackle. I think it was Ecker had hit him but didn't wrap up. He was able to back out of it, reverse field, and was gone for like a 50-yard touchdown, however far it was there for him. That was an impressive play. They weren't very consistent with it. They were able to move the ball a little bit versus each team kind of deal with that. So Pattonsburg did an okay job there on offense. Defensively, a lot left to be desired there for Pattonsburg. DeKalb, watching them, man, they are still so small. They're not just like roster size. I think they had 16 to 20 kids out this year, but their kids are just so small. So it's going to be tough for them to beat some of these teams up here just because of just pure size. But I do like what some of the things they did there. Their running game is very misdirection, so they can use some of their quickness to their advantage there for it. So they did a couple of nice things there for DeKalb there as well. And then Platte Valley and North Andrew both looked pretty good there. I mean, Carter Luke is going to be a stud there up front for him. I was really impressed with the McCrary kid, which I'm still trying to get used to him playing fullback wearing 54. Still trying to get used to that for him, but he did a nice job there offensively and defensively along with Luke. The Blackford kid did a nice job there at quarterback. And then the Weir kid up front is also a stud there for him. So I was impressed with Platte Valley. I think they did a really good job there, and they definitely looked the part based on what I've heard this offseason and what Anthony's kind of told me. Looking at them, they definitely looked that part as well. And then North Andrew, Chittim, he looks massive on film, by the way. I think there was one of the plays there towards late session versus Platte Valley. He had a sack on Blackford where he just absolutely engulfed him on that part of it. The Goff kid, Andrew Goff, looked great on defense. I mean, he's going to be a good offensive player, but he looked really good at linebacker there for North Andrew. But Ecker did a nice job running the ball. Linville did a nice job as well. So they're going to have some nice players there. If they stay healthy, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with this year. So I was really impressed with North Andrew. I would probably go North Andrew with Platte Valley just behind them, and then probably Pattonsburg, DeKalb as the next two on there. Pattonsburg just barely over DeKalb. With I do like some of the athletes Pattonsburg had there, but it's not a big gap between those two teams there. I was able to watch the North Shelby Jamboree. Thank you. I think I can't remember who sent it to me. They have a YouTube channel there for North Shelby. So I was able to watch that one kind of passively there this morning. North Shelby was definitely very good. And as Jeremy said, North Andrew's defense impressed him and impressed me too. North Andrew's defense is going to be really good. I mean, they're big, they're physical. As I said, their Goff was flying around making plays there at linebackers, so they did a really nice job there defensively. It's going to be one thing that kind of separates some of the elite teams, some of the good to very good teams, is that defensive element. A lot of teams are going to be able to score points this year. Are you going to be able to get stops consistently on there? North Andrew should be able to do that for the most part this year while having that ability to score on offense. With that, North Shelby, Knox County, Schuyler. We'll start with Schuyler County. They look better than they have in the past kind of deal for them. They were able to kind of do a few nice things. With that, they look a little bit bigger up front. And their athletes are kind of maturing a little bit there for them. They've had a really young team in the last couple of years. Knox County, they are definitely smaller kind of deal this year. They lost a really good group of seniors there for them. They did a lot of nice things for them. So they might have some growing pains this year just because they have a lot of young guys. I did like the quarterback. They're Rylan Roberts, I believe his name is. He did a nice job in a couple situations, but it's going to be some growing pains for Knox County, I think, this year. And then North Shelby, they look pretty decent. I mean, I think the rich kids there at quarterback, it was hard to tell. There was no numbers for North Shelby, so I was trying to figure out who was who, and I wasn't able to do it there. They're not overly big up front. They were much bigger last year kind of deal. One of their better linemen is out for the year. Got hurt there in the offseason on there. He was the one returning starter on offense for them. So we'll see how they kind of do. I'm still waiting to see with North Shelby. They should be still pretty good. I mean, their JV last year got plenty of playing time. Their varsity got up big. JV kids got in, got plenty of experience there for them. So I'm not worried about North Shelby, but they won't. I don't think they're going to be a top 5 team they have in the last couple of years. They're going to be more that borderline top 10 team, getting some votes, kind of in that thing. They're going to win a lot of games this year, though. If they win less than 6 games, I'd be shocked, kind of deal. They're going to be a really good football team. Again, I just don't know if the ceiling's what it was last year with that really good group of seniors that North Shelby had last year. And let's see here. The next Jamboree that I was able to watch was the Worth County Jamboree. I was able to watch that one last night. And really, all 4 teams looked pretty decent, above average or better kind of deal. It might be tough for Albany or King City just because you got to play Worth County, Stanbury, North Andrew, all in your conference there. First, that could be 3 losses there, just depending on how things kind of shape out. And then you're still looking at a 6-3 team going to the playoffs that could be really good still, but has 3 losses kind of deal. So Albany, King City both look decent. Kipper Klein there for Albany, he's a stud. I love the Reynolds kid for him. Darren Felt at running back was running hard for him. And Albany's a team, I say it every year, if you make mistakes, they capitalize on them very well because they are very fundamentally sound. We'll see how they kind of do this year. There were some parts I was pleased, other parts I was just like not overwhelmed with them. So we'll kind of see where they kind of are with that this year. But it's a very talented Jamboree. And also, they bring a lot of JV in there for those Jamboree as well. So, and they actually switched their format last minute. They were going to originally do the 15-yard line or 20-yard line and go kind of deal, full length of the field. They had a weather delay for about 40 minutes or so they switched to the half field thing. And I think some of the coaches really liked that because there's a little more urgency and just a little better rhythm for the kids. You're not playing 12 plays, sitting for a while, playing 12 more plays, maybe sitting, maybe playing. It's just less sitting around kind of deal. You're getting reps the whole time. You get in and out faster. So I did like that for them. King City also. I watched this one through Albany TV. Shout out to the Albany TV guys. They did a great job with that as well. The only down part of doing the 2 sides at once is trying to get both on film because they do both go sometimes at the same time. But they did a good job with that as well. King City, they still got plenty of size up front. I was impressed with them defensively. Played really well defensively. Offensively, they're sure to have some growing pain, just kind of figuring out who their go-to guys are there. The Fisher kid played a lot of quarterback. The Mooney kid was in the backfield a lot. Trying to remember who else was back there for him. I can't remember off the top of my head now. But also Chase Moss didn't play in the Jamboree there for him. It's one of their better, probably their best linemen this year. So I was impressed with King City. Maybe I've been a little bit too low on them. Kind of like the same with East Ashton. I've been a little bit too low on them, but I just didn't know if I could put them in the top 10 with 3 other GRCs teams already in there. Could I put them in over a team there at the bottom of the rankings? They're right on the cusp of me for being a top 10 team. Definitely a discussion going forward. Stanbury, very impressive defensively. They were flying around there, making tackles. They were very physical. Very impressed with Stanbury on that side of the ball. Offensively, new quarterback. A couple things to kind of work out there still. Don't have the big beef they had up front last year to this year's team. But I did like the way Cameron and Sheba run the football for them. So I'm very confident in Stanbury still. They're a top 7 team at least in the state kind of deal. And pretty entrenched in the 8-man poll going forward as of right now. With that, I'm very interested to see their schedule here real quick. Get it pulled up here. They got St. Joe Christian, Albany, King City, Knox, Pattonsburg. The first 5 weeks on there. So realistically, they should start 5-0 if we're going just by favorites there, even though Albany and King City could show issues there. Then they'll have North Andrew a bye week before playing East Ashton and Worth County. So their last 4 weeks again, 3 of those games there with the bye sprinkled in there in between. That used to be the North Shelby game. Very tough schedule to end the year for Stanbury like usual. So we'll see how they kind of do. They should be a pretty good football team going forward. And then Worth County, wanted to see how their new skill guys would work with the new kid at quarterback, High Shoe and Castball. They ran the ball a little bit for them, and it looked like Worth County. It looked really good. High Shoe and Castball both have really good speed, New throws a really nice ball. It's not Gladstone, but he throws a really nice ball for him as well. And they have a big O line and D line there. And I was really impressed with Worth County defensively. I think they're that next tier. The top 4 teams that I have personally in the state are Drexel, North Andrew, Platte Valley, Archie. I think Worth County is the top of that next tier there for me personally. I was really impressed with Worth County on there. So that's the Jamborees. I was able to either go to or see some of it online. The ones I did not get to see, I did not get to see the Sweet Springs one, the Archie Lockwood, which Anthony was at, and I'll give you a couple of Anthony's thoughts that he given me. Lockwood literally the best team, according to him. He would put Liberal 2, Jasper 3, and the Greenfield 4 at his Jamboree that he went to. And the last one I didn't get to see was St. Joe Christian hosting Collegeites, KC East Christian, and Stewartsville Osborne. Didn't get to see that one. I saw a couple of highlight film courtesy of Mitchell Ribberol, who is our KQ2 media poll representative on there. So we'll see how they kind of do with that this year. College Heights, based on the 2 30-second films I saw there for those short little highlights, College Heights had some good athletes, and they were looked to be pretty decent there. I know it was a first-year program. We're trying to figure out where you're going to be at kind of deal, but that's where they kind of showed up originally. They were St. Joe Christian, and the Gibson kid at Stewartsville Osborne, still a stud. They were feeding him the ball quite a bit there, so he's going to be a guy. When you play Stewartsville Osborne, you got to know where Braxton Gibson is because he's going to get the ball quite a bit there for him. So the 10 Jamborees, I got at least film or looking at 6 of them. Anthony got another one that's 7, so we got to see a pretty good chunk of the state this week. Based on what I've been told by a couple of anonymous people over at the Sweet Springs Jamboree, they said Sweet Springs looked like the best team over there. That includes St. Paul Lutheran, Santa Fe, and Concordia. That Sweet Springs played really well. So that's really intriguing to me because I have St. Paul Lutheran originally higher than Sweet Springs, so I was kind of second-guessing some things in getting my poll. I eventually left them both out of my original top 10. And again, the media poll, sponsored by Rain Physical Therapy out of Maryville. Shout out to Michael Gard for that sponsorship there. Media poll will come out on Monday morning. I will let you know what my poll is, though. The ballot that I submitted. I do have everybody's poll, but I'm not submitting it announcing it until Monday, so you guys all have to wait to see where everybody's at with that. But me personally, my top 10 was Drexel 1, North Andrew 2, Platte Valley 3, Archie at 4, followed by Worth County at 5, 6 of Stanberry, 7 with Bishop LeBlond, 8 Lockwood, 9 East Atchison, and at the 10th spot, I did have the Braemar Bobcats. Other teams I considered there for that last couple of spots there, King City, Sweet Springs, North Shelby, Liberal, and St. Paul Lutheran. I will tell you, everybody, there are 15 teams that did receive a vote of some sort in the top 10, and there are no ties in the top 10, but there is a 3-way tie for that 11th spot. So that's a couple of things I'll give you guys for some tidbits about the poll going in next week. So should be a lot of fun. I can't wait to see what everybody looks like next week in week 1. Again, I will be going down to Lockwood to see Archie at Lockwood in a potential top 10 matchup with that one. So it should be a lot of fun. Does anybody have any questions about the Jamborees they want to bring up here? I'm going to open it up here on there. And I believe if you see there in the comments, Mr. Benson did put his recap of the North Andrew Jamboree in the comments there for the Facebook page. So if you guys want to read that, go ahead, click on that. Jeremy does a great job with that as well. Let me go back up here. So we'll go back to some of the earlier comments here. Why does Anthony hate Drexel? I just think Anthony is really high in North Andrew with their potential there, and with Archie. Archie has looked really good in the offseason, I will say that. So I think it's more to do about North Andrew and Archie than hating Drexel. But I will say I think Coach Dean down there at Drexel likes that someone's not putting it number 1 in the poll for that. So there's a little bit of not everyone believes in this kind of deal. So he's going to use every little thing that he can get there with that. Don't see any other questions here. I'll leave it over for a couple more minutes here to see if there's any other questions anybody kind of has based on what they had kind of seen, or if they had anything else to add there for everything. Let me see here. While we look at that. And again, the 3 teams who were not in the Jamboree this week were Drexel, Mountain City, and South Holt. And I'll run through the schedule real quick for week 1 while we're waiting for some more comments to kind of roll in here. We're going to go alphabetically by the home team here to see what the 20 games that are on the docket for week 1 19 on Friday, 1 on Saturday. So first up, Rich Hill at Albany. You'll have Greenfield at Appleton City, Northland Christian at Concordia, Southwest Livingston at East Atchison, Osceola at Jasper. And also, I think a quick note there, for Livingston and EA, I think as long as Livingston's been in the conference, they're playing East Atchison, the road team, I believe, has won every game of that series. I think that changes this year, hopefully on there. I think it hopefully does change. But I think the road team has won that one. Osceola at Jasper, Bramer at Keatsville. That game is Saturday at 10 a.m. Anthony will be at that game to give you guys some coverage of Bramer Keatsville. He wants to see the Haley kid in person, and that reminds me here, John Dykstra, who does Haley's style compare to the previous 8-man QBs I've seen? He's not the runner that the kid I'm going to compare him to is, but the way he sees the game and the way he throws the ball reminds me slightly of Wes Hughes at Southwest Livingston. The way he can avoid guys, the way he is in the quick twitch in the short intermediate spaces there, able to slip through tacklers and stuff like that, really reminds me of that, but he is more of a passer than what... Hughes was a great passer, not saying that, but I think Haley has some of those same kind of traits there, and they are just traits, and he is not where Wes Hughes was as a senior there at Southwest Livingston. But I see some of those things, and Haley's only a sophomore, so I think he's going to get better and could get to that spot there for him. So I was really impressed with him. I'm trying to think of other quarterbacks who were pass-first guys. Because he's not Will Height, because Will Height was more of a just stand in the pocket, throw a pass. He's definitely not Drew Quinlan with just the bulk there with that. So I'm trying to think. He's not Landon Papa, who was a 6'4", great runner kind of deal with that. So it's different. He's definitely not Mac Anderson or something like that. So he's more of a passer there, but he's a very good player. I was really impressed with just his knowledge of the game as a sophomore, as a young player. You could definitely see that there for him. Going through the rest of the schedule real quick, Drexel at Liberal, Archie at Lockwood, which will be the game of the week. Next week, Gunnar Hughes there, North Andrew. Possibly there. Gunnar Hughes might be a decent comparison, even though North Andrew was more of a running team. But I think you would put Gunnar Hughes in a spread offense like that, I think it would have been another nice comparison there. Is the Gunnar Hughes kid at North Andrew a few years ago. With that as another good name for that. Yeah, but I will be at Archie Lockwood for the game of the week there. So make sure you guys tune in for that one. Should be a really fun matchup there between the Whirlwinds and the Tigers. King City at North Andrew, which our friend Jerry Benson said he will be at that game next week. So King City at North Andrew should be a lot of fun in that one. I went to that game last year. It was a great time. King City won. I think North Andrew's the favorite this year. We'll get into that later next week. College Heights playing North Shelby. This game is a neutral site game at St. Joseph Christian. So should be interesting to see two teams. Definitely in the spectrums there with North Shelby last year as a semifinal team, losing a lot of guys, trying to reload a little bit for this season. College Heights, first year program, and your first game is against North Shelby. Very interested to see how that game kind of works out there and how those two teams kind of face off in that one. Very intriguing matchup there for week one. Bishop LeBlanc at Pattonsburg. Mound City at Platte Valley. Again, remember Platte Valley did beat Mound City last year in this game and kind of sparked the interest of everybody in Platte Valley a year ago. DeKalb at Rockport. Another good game here. Oric at St. Paul Lutheran. With that, and then I'm trying to read the comments here. Nick Terry will also be at the Platte Valley game as well for the Maryville Daily Forum. So there we go. So we'll see Platte Valley, Mound City, and I think Mitchell's going to that one shoot highlights possibly. So interesting there. And as Jeremy said there in the comments, College Heights going to St. Joe for back-to-back weeks. He's going there for the Jamboree, so they know the way at least this week to go up to St. Joe to play North Shelby there. Because I think I was reading there, it's about 2.5, 3 hours for both of them coming there instead of going 5 hours to each other kind of deal. So they both cut about 2 hours off their trip one way. So 4 hours off your trip, round trip. Can't really beat that on that one. Where was that there? Oric at St. Paul Lutheran could be a very important Central River game there to kind of see where those two teams match up. I believe St. Paul won that game 2 years ago. Oric won it last year after a couple of nice plays by Buchanan and Miller to kind of bring a comeback to beat St. Paul Lutheran. So a very interesting matchup there between the Bearcats and the Saints. Northwest Hughesville at Santa Fe in a conference matchup. Knox County at Schuyler County, a couple of regional rivals there. St. Joe Christian at Stanbury. St. Joe Christian, their first game back in the Grand River Conference. It's an 8-man school. Last year they were independent. This year back in the GRC. Be their first conference game since leaving for 11-man a few years ago. With that, Nottoway Valley at Stewartsville Osborne. Norbert Hardin Central at Sweet Springs. And Sweet Springs' first game is an 8-man team. And then another good one that Anthony's going to, South Holt at Worth County. So that should be kind of a recap of our week 1 there. And just a couple things, some housekeeping stuff. Again, I will be at Archie Lockwood week 1. Anthony will be at South Holt, Worth County with that. So it should be a lot of fun covering that week 1. Our media poll will come out Monday morning. I have a couple of things. I think me and Jeremy are doing a preview of the Grand River Conference as well in this podcast, so make sure you keep an eye out for that. We will make sure we share it on Facebook and Twitter for you guys. The countdown is getting close here. I think we're day 5 tomorrow. When we get to the final day, day 0, we will have a nice little video of that, so you guys make sure you check that out. It should be a really nice video to kind of highlight all the kids there in the countdown. So I'm really excited with that. It does have a 8-man community tie there with the twist we're putting to it this year, so I think you guys are really going to enjoy that, and I can't wait for the final product to be there. So I think I have one more name to put on that video there for you guys, but I think you guys are really going to enjoy that on Friday. Also on Friday, class and district assignments should be released by Misha on Friday morning, so we will be able to confirm who's in what district, and all that good stuff there should come out on Friday morning. I'm really excited to see what Misha decides to do there. And again, I think I've already given you my prediction for that. I'll do that again here real quick. I think the districts stay the same as they were last year. You just add College Heights to the South District with Archie and Drexel and all of them, and you add Sweet Springs to the kind of the Central District with North Shelby, Hughesville, Lutheran, and all those teams over there, and you keep districts 3 and 4 the same. I think that's what Michigan's going to do. Everything I've seen in the handbook with that, they're going to stay with the 4 districts. I would rather go to 8 districts or just reseed everybody 1 through 40, but I am not in charge of Michigan. So that's what we have for that on there. As I said before, Anthony and I will do a preview podcast sometime this week. I know Monday night, myself, Anthony, and Chris Roush at KU2 are going to sit down and have a couple of segments there with that. Excited might be the wrong word to describe. Yeah, okay, so I'm not excited about Michigan's process. I am excited to see what they finally come out with. That way we have some more content, because personally I think these districts should be already out by this point. There's no reason they're not out by Jamboree weekend, because you pretty much know at that point what the enrollment numbers are. We've already heard some teams can't go off this year because they'd be over the enrollment numbers. That tells me they've had the enrollment numbers for about a month now. So that's very frustrating for me personally, because it's like, you guys have the numbers, you have the information, just release it so we all have it kind of deal. I don't understand there with that part of it. And let's see here. And, okay, one more thing that I wanted to address here that I saw on Twitter today, just because I did. I posted the approximate roster size in an 8-man football for the season kind of deal. I mean, Anthony talked about it there on Thursday night kind of deal. I posted that information I had. It's 95% correct. There's a couple of things that are adjusted one way or the other due to the Michigan rosters being a little bit wrong, or coaches, kids deciding to play or not play kind of deal. So it's a pretty good approximation of everybody in the state kind of deal as a general usage for it. And I had someone, not going to name names, said any team that's over 25 kids in a roster should have to play 11-man. And it said you have Class 1 schools with 20 kids to play teams with 45 to 60 kids in 11-man. The first thing I would say there is there's that enrollment break for a reason kind of deal, because year in, year out, some of these teams can't field over 25 kids, or if they do, half are underclassmen there, so you have 12 upperclassmen there, and maybe then some aren't ready. It's just not using the roster sizes. I used to think that way too. It's just not a great way to do it. And if you're complaining about being a small Class 1 school with 20 kids in your roster, playing against teams with 45 to 60 kids on that, with that, I would just say, why are you beating your head up against a wall there, not having JV? Even if you are a successful 11-man program, you're not still doing the kids a good service just because you want to play 11-man football with 9 subs. I don't understand, whatever it is, playing with 20 kids, that's a district decision there for your school district. If you want to stay 11-man, that's great, but forcing other districts who one year will have 20 kids out, next year might have 30, first of all, it'd be a scheduling nightmare. Okay, it'd be a scheduling nightmare if you get to the summer. I put this on my Twitter thing too. And okay, we might have 30 kids out. That's fantastic. So okay, we know according to Mr. Rules, under this hypothetical, we have to play 11-man football. First of all, we had call teams and schedule opponents there for 11-man after playing 8-man for 5 years, whatever it is. And if that's the case, great. We finally get a full 11-man schedule. We get to the summer workouts. We had 30 kids at the start, and we get to the Jamboree weekend. I have 24 kids because 6 kids decided, I don't want to play this now, or I missed too many practices. I quit, whatever it may be. And you're down to 24 kids, so you could have played 8-man football. But now you're so late in the process, a week away from week 1, you still have to play 11-man football. So you have 24 kids to start the year. And then injuries in football happen. They just do. And yeah, thanks, John. I think I'm correct too. But so you get to that part of it, and say by the end of the year you have a terrible year of injuries, and you have 14 kids going to your district game where you're playing a team with 60 kids. How is that fair to the kids on there? Because you want to rule with at least 25 kids in your roster, you have to go 11-man. That's just not the spirit of the kind of deal. It should be a district by district, and some schools are going to go kicking and screaming. We saw it this year with a team who was flirting with the idea of going 11-man and then decided, nope, we're going 8-man. We're going to stay 11-man here. It's not for us at this point. And in a couple of years, they might be forced to go just by due roster size numbers. They'll be forced to go to it kind of deal. And some schools will go kicking and screaming. Other schools who have went down the last 5 years have seen success. They've seen actually their roster numbers improve because, one, you're having more fun because you're not getting your head beat in by schools twice your size in Class 1 still. 2, you actually have a JV. So if you're a freshman, if you are getting playing time, it's against kids who are similar skill level there, at least similar age kind of deal, where you can hone your skills and get better and be improved for varsity for the next year. So you want to keep coming back instead of being as a freshman getting thrown in there because you have to because they need numbers and getting pulverized by seniors. And then why would you want to go out the next year? Some kids think like that. I got destroyed last year. Why do I want to go through that again kind of deal? It just creates a better atmosphere around the program. We've seen it with some programs who they were 20 kids going out each year. This is their third or fourth year in 8-man. They're up around 30 kids now just because whether the classes got bigger, I don't know there, but they're just more participation because it's fun. They're having success. So that's the way I see it right there. And if you don't want to be a 20 size roster going up against 60 size rosters, go 8-man. It's really that simple. No one's stopping you from going 8-man if your enrollment's below 150. And I know for a fact that there's a lot of schools there that are going to have 20 to 25 kids out for the 11-man team program that are well below that 150 mark, but just won't go because it's either a pride thing. And exactly, as Jeremy said, North Shelby and LeBlanc were 2 great examples of teams who had dropped down and had more success with that. And Knox County was another team that had a lot more success here recently, dropping down and keeping those numbers up. North Shelby, I think they went a decade without winning a game kind of deal, and then they were just in the state semifinals, and they've been a top 10 team pretty regularly here the last few years because they've been able to build their roster up. And I think North Shelby, I can't remember what I have there for their roster size for this year. I just had the thing pulled up. Let me see here. They have 25 kids out. I think they're in the bottom 5 or 6, usually in the state enrollment on there. So that's why I don't like that as much, because if you're a school that has a low enrollment, a very high participation rate, you should not be punished for that. And there will be coaches, or I don't want to say this, but there might be situations where you manipulate the numbers because you're like, well, we might have 25 kids out, but I'm not going to push these next 5 kids to go out for football because it will force us to go to 11-man. We don't want that. The coaches want to get as many players out as possible for their program, and that would be a negative impact there. Well, I know I got 24 kids out. I'm not going to push those next 2 freshmen to come out for us because I don't want to go over that limit for roster size to be forced to play 11-man football because they have 2 more freshmen on the roster. Just little things like that we don't think about with some of these ideas. It's great in theory, but in practicality, it just doesn't work there for it. Let me see here. Is there anything else that I'm missing here with this? I don't think there's anything else. But yeah, LeBlanc was another reason. LeBlanc, they were a MEC school playing against Benton and Lafayette, being a Class 1 school playing Class 3 and 4 schools there in conference. And things were not going well there at the end there in 11-man. They came down to 8-man. They had some really small roster sizes there, but they've been able to build their program back up through just success and a JV program. JV programs are so underrated here in building some of these teams, just being successful on there and just getting kids good experiences there. and having positive experiences younger to make sure that they can stick with it as seniors kind of deal. Because I think as I put there in that graphic there are usually more freshmen and sophomores out on teams than juniors and seniors. There's usually a little over 6 per team, freshmen and sophomores, and just about 5 or 4 there for the juniors and seniors, just because you go out first couple years, you don't like it as much, you get your head beat in, and you quit kind of deal, and there's just less seniors usually kind of deal. There's some obvious examples with King City and Albany having some big senior classes this year, and it just wouldn't make sense there. So I wanted to address that because it was nagging at me a little bit there for that. So does anybody else have any questions or anything else that you want me to bring up here with that? Yes, as John can tell, I have many hats for Missouri 8-man football. We got those two the next 2 days this week, by the way. Just a little bit of a sneak peek for the week, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday will be a couple of special things that I'm going to kind of do to wrap up the hat countdown that I was doing there on my Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram there over the last month plus with all these hats during the work week kind of deal with that. So appreciate anybody who's either given me a hat or directed me to a link to buy a hat kind of deal. I really appreciate all you guys for that. So I can keep building this hat collection. I got 2 more spots there, and I got 5 more hooks to put on that side as well to add to the collection for that. So if you don't see your hat here, let me know so I can see if I can get you guys up on the wall here so you guys can be in the background for the shows as well going forward on there. So I don't think there's any other questions. If there are, let me check real quick before I jump out of here. I don't see any so far. So, and again, we'll have more for next week on there. So thank you guys for watching here. We'll have more stuff for you as the season goes on. And signing off here from Missouri 8-man football. Hat talk is out of control. Yeah, it can be out of control, but I wasn't even going to bring it up until you said something in the comments. So this is partly your fault, John. You know I have zero self-control when someone puts a comment in there. I'm going to read it, and we're going to talk about it. The one thing that I am very disappointed with today, though, is that we didn't get a Dean Thacker Silkett comments thing going on there going forward. So kind of disappointed in that. Let me see here. Oh, goody. So I'm able to watch the Sweet Springs Jamboree as well because I just got the link sent to me by Coach Gifford there at St. Paul Lutheran. So I'm going to be watching their Jamboree here to get that one on there. So unfortunately that competition won't be included here, but I might bring it up later in the week just because I can. But Jamborees are officially over, and it's great to get the kids some experience there, get them some nice live reps versus other key people, but they're done. We got games that actually matter going forward here starting on Friday the 26th when all your class and district assignments come out as well. So thank you guys for watching. You guys have a good rest of your week. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Follow our YouTube account as well. So we really appreciate it. Check out the poll on Monday morning with that. It's very lonely in the comment section this afternoon. I probably chose the wrong time to do it here on a Saturday afternoon, but I had nothing better to do. So thank you guys. You guys have a great day.